Hello and welcome to another one of our Tinto flavors. Well, we're getting it on a Thursday because tomorrow is an Easter religious holiday, and we're going to be looking at the Papal States today. So it would be very unfortunate and quite blasphemous, really, to be looking at the Papal States on one of their holy days. It's clearly just, it makes sense to do it early. It's better early than later, after all. So before we get into that, I just want to say that there's only 45% of you that watch my videos are subscribed. Let's make that number bigger than the not subscribed number. That would be really cool if we could do that. So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching this, help me out. It doesn't cost you anything. Everything goes fine if you just, subscribe. It's fine. Anyway, before we get into the Papal States flavor, though, there's one more thing that we need to have a look at, and that is here. The cardinal seat in Avignon, it being a building that you can build, and people were a little bit iffy about the fact that you can seemingly be the one in control of cardinal seats being given out. So it was clarified by Johann. In today's Tinto Talks, we showed a tooltip for a built cardinal seat, where the big donut pie chart around the prop type indicated how many are currently working, maximum levels, and more. That is this one right here. This is the tooltip for the cardinal seat when you want to consider building it. Looking through it, and you'll notice something special with the building compared to most others. So, the costs for construction. We've got, masonry, paper, books, gold, fine cloth, lumber, glass, etc. But also 50 religious influence. And I think that is really where he's looking at it being, not just a building that you want to build. And it, having to spend religious influence to get your cardinal is, I think, slightly better than just it being a building that you have to build. I still think it's probably a little more lore friendly. Lore friendly as if this isn't literal history, where the Pope will, be the one to decide where the cardinals go, and also there could be something in the way of influence, like can I request a cardinal, that kind of way. That might be a better vibe. But at least there is, a religious cost to this as well. So you can probably take this as, if you're trying to, headcanon it, why this is here. This religious influence is you petitioning the Pope, and I guess they just always say yes. It would be nice if there was also a thing like you need to have positive relations with the Papal States. Something like that might work as well. But either way, I think this is important that it's there. So yeah, the building cost is not gold, but religious influence. So he gets this tooltip when he attempts to build another one as Castel, who starts with some. You can't afford the 249 religious influence. I guess it costs more the more you have. 50 for your first one, 250 for, I guess, maybe your fifth one. Either way, that's cool. And what is the price based on? So its base cost is 50, amount of other cardinals plus 25%, total amount of cardinals plus 320%. Development is in there as well, traditional economy is in there as well. Nice. Okay, I feel like this is a welcome clarification because this felt weird. Knowing this is here feels better. It does feel better. But there's also some comments. I commented that changing costs of buildings is a really cool concept because I do think that is true. Everything in the game can have any combination of the following as a price. So there's gold, stability, prestige, war exhaustion, inflation, manpower, sailors, army tradition, navy tradition, government power, so legitimacy, republican tradition, etc., or any religious value like religious influence. For building, it's almost always purely gold, and for regiments, it tends to be gold and manpower, but they use the price code for anything, so it's easy to just swap the cost of any action, so modders have fun with this. So if you want to assign a new cabinet task to reduce legitimacy, well, it's a one-line change in the script, or if you want it to cost gold and army tradition to do a no CB war instead of stability and war exhaustion. I think that's cool. I think it's really cool. The way that everything is sort of like using the same code, which it makes everything a bit more streamlined. Like, doing a war has a cost. Building a building has a cost. So why not use the same code for doing both things instead of EU4, which obviously has completely different systems? This kind of streamlining is, I think, one of the ways that EU5 is actually going to run reasonably well on people's computers, even though it is a far more complex game than EU4. You know, the innovations, I guess, that they've made in streamlining code seems to be quite decent. It seems to be quite decent. So, yeah, no, I think this is really cool. Should traditional economy affect the building cost other than gold? This makes the mechanic more reasonable. Although I guess religious influence is quite a big abstraction. There's always going to be abstractions. There's no way to avoid abstractions in a game trying to, you know, simulate history, or not simulate history, but have an authentic history game. You're going to have abstractions. Do bishoprics and archbishoprics gain a lot of religious influence? Can they build this building even if they're county rank? So it affects the building cost. A bishopric gets more religious influence than a monarchy. Makes sense. How many cardinals does Castel have at the start of the game? They have 1 in Cartagena. And can you conquer cardinals by conquering locations with the cardinal seat? Yes, you can. Cool. Love that. Love that. But let's go back to the Tinto flavor for the Papal States. We're keeping on this religious theme. We're having that keep going. So, hello and welcome to another session of our Tinto flavor. This week we're continuing with a Christian Easter feel by taking a look at the Papal States. Since its creation by the hand of St. Peter himself, the Catholic Church has been guiding all of humanity to salvation through the ages thanks to the leadership of the Bishop of Rome, the Pope. Starting with the donation of Pepin, the Blessed Papal States were created to both govern and help the faithful. However, the last decades have been a constant struggle as the death of Pope Bonifacius the eighth, Gaetania Aquila, forced the relocation of the court to the exclave of Avignon, as the papacy fell under the influence of King Philippe IV, the Fair Capet, and its holdings in Italy were dominated by quarreling noble families. What will the Vicar of Christ do? Will he fully become a puppet of the Kingdom of France and allow the temporal rule over the spiritual? Or will he break free and rise to the position at the top of the creation that God himself has intended for its church? Cool. Good stuff. So, we start with Benedictus the 12th Fournier. We've seen this guy before. I quite like the border on the flag. Yo, this has been changing. Let's just quickly open an archive at one of the older Tinto flavors. Let's open the Bavarian one, for example. This, not great. This, gorgeous. Love me some fancy I love me some fancy borders around things. I love fancy just saying, I love some fancy borders around things. You know, it's beautiful. Here are the lands they have, taking into account that their capital is in Avignon, not in Rome. I imagine that's something that you were gonna want to be changing at a certain point. And also, I was curious as to why, you know, if we're playing as the Papal State, why is the map like centered on Corsica? Why is the map not centered over here? Because, you know, you have to get the capital of Avignon in there, which I guess that makes sense. So, lovely. Capital's over here. Most of the land's over here. I imagine that's going to be really rough on your control then. That makes sense. I hope they have a control map in here somewhere. They start with special government reform unique to the papacy. They have the Holy See. A country can have one major reform at a time. They disallow diplomatic subjugation, so I guess they cannot be diplo-vassalized. They get a bunch of religious influence, some monthly devotion. They're blocked from forming countries. Hopefully they get to form the Kingdom of God, because that was always a fun formable to do in EU4. The ruler name uses the court language. They can reassign clerics. They are the Pope, naturally. They're blocked from conversion, and they are monthly progress to traditionalist as well. And the capital grants a cardinal. The Holy See is the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Rome, the Pontifex Maximus, head of all the Catholic Church, known as the Pope. Also, just Pontifex Maximus just sounds like a really cool title. You know, I've always never been a Catholic, but I've always liked the term Pontifex Maximus. It sounds cool. And they also have some special privileges representing their division between their French and Italian holdings. So French cardinals gives them cannot move capital. Okay, so that's what stops you from moving it immediately back to Rome. This is a clergy privilege, giving happiness to the clergy, but also some power. Since the death of Pope Bonifacius VIII Gaetini Aquila and the movement of the court to Avignon, most of the cardinals that in it are French and under the influence of the King of France, whose grip on the Papal States won't allow a return to Rome, the bastards. They have powerful Italian families, the noble estate privilege, giving them some happiness there, or satisfaction, I should say, and also some power. Lowers their crown power by quite a significant amount to all locations in... in all locations in Italy are losing a huge amount of crown power that is crazy strong. The anarchy and disobedience in the city of Rome and the other Italian estates greatly increased when the Pope moved his court to Avignon. Now those territories are under the control of powerful Italian families, such as Colonna and Orsini, and they're almost completely independent of the Pope. They also have a unique policy. The Pope has the Papacy policy, giving them monthly religious influence and tolerance of the true faith. A political structure where the nation is governed by a spiritual leader, the Pope, the highest ranking office of the Roman Catholic Church. They also have a work of art, the Palace de Papes? Sure. Palace des Papes in Avignon was built in the 14th century when the papacy temporarily moved from Rome to France. This massive Gothic palace serves as the residence for 9 popes during the Avignon papacy. It's not only a religious centre, but also a symbol of papal authority and power in Europe. Some unique advances for them as well. Actually, what does this give? It's a masterpiece. It's just, work of art. Okay. Some unique advances. They have the word of the Lord, giving them +5 Diplo reputation. As his most loyal servants, his holiest of bishops, it's us who reads and interprets the word of the Lord. As such, our diplomacy is backed with the divinity of God. For the glory of Rome, I like this one, obviously. Prestige decay -0.1%. We control the greatest city and the ancient capital of the Romans. We are the preservers of their marvelous tradition. The donation of Constantine, they get Casus Belli creation speed +25%, very nice. The donation of Constantine demonstrates our authority to bestow the title of Emperor of the Romans upon whomever we choose. It may also prove that we're rather good at forging documents. Okay. We have the Holy Father, giving them less antagonism impact. Being the Vicar of God to Roman Catholics gives us a certain amount of political leeway. The papal bull, documents carrying the Pope's official seal, carrying the weight of the very word of God. With these rulers have been cursed and entire continents have been divided. One particular characteristic of the papacy is that their succession is not like the rest of the countries. As such, they have a special succession law. They have the papal conclave. When the Pope dies, the cardinals gather to debate who will be the new Pope. This can be quick, but sometimes it may take several years. A new Pope is elected through a process after the previous one is dead. So this is a bit like what we saw for the HRE, right? I imagine it would be instant if there is a consensus from the cardinals, and we would be in an interregnum if the cardinals cannot reach a consensus or have a majority voting for a single pope, a single cardinal to become pope. And that's how it works for the HRE, right? The electors are going to vote for a country to become the new Holy Roman Emperor. If there is no majority, then the HRE will be in interregnum until such time as one is elected or reaches a majority. I imagine that's going to be the same here. We'll be in an interregnum until there is a majority. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. Also makes it so that when a pope dies, a country enters into papal conclave regency. Interregnum, papal conclave regency, same thing, really. Eventually, it'll be resolved with an event firing where the player will be able to choose between some of the cardinals available. Okay, so stability investment is slightly less. But otherwise, yeah, makes sense. And here we have our regent Rogier. The Papal Conclave has finished debating on which cardinal should be elected as new pope. There are 3 major candidates, but which one won the election? Okay, so we just get to choose then. Cardinal of Rome, Cartagena, or Bazas. Here are some more events available to the papacy. We can reinforce Castel Santangelo. The mausoleum of Hadrian, nowadays better known as Castel Santangelo, has gradually been transformed by our predecessors into a fortified bastion, providing a vital line of defense for Rome. With the turbulent nature of our times, many advisors now urge us to finalize its transformation into a formidable castle, one capable of safeguarding Rome against any threat. By the 16th century, Castel Sant'Angelo has become a fully developed fortress, with underground passages connecting it to the Vatican. Castel Sant'Angelo famously protected Pope Clement VII during the 1527 sack of Rome, as he and his retinue took refuge there from the invading troops of Charles V. So, transform into a fully fledged fortress is the historical option. Giving access to the special building of Castel Santangelo. It takes 1,000 soldiers to man it, garrison size plus 200, fort defense plus 20%, and plus 2 fort level. It takes stone to build, a bunch of money to build, and production method of... this isn't tools, this is just production method symbol now. Stone, tools, weaponry, and tar. Originally built by Emperor Hadrian as a mausoleum for his family, Castel Sant'Angelo has been rebuilt by the popes to be one of the most formidable fortresses in Rome. Some events for some special individuals. We have Raphael Sanzio da Urbino, a celebrated Renaissance painter and architect, has recently caught the attention of our court. Known for his exquisite compositions and mastery of perspective, Sanzio da Urbino's works have earned him acclaim across Italy and beyond. Hiring him would surely enhance the cultural prestige of the church and also attract admiration from scholars and artists alike. Many advisors recommend that we formally invite Sanzio to serve as an artistic consultant to elevate the grandeur of our projects and reinforce papal legacy in art and architecture. He was a master painter and architect of the Italian High Renaissance, celebrated for his clarity of form, ease of composition, and visual achievement of the Napoleonic ideal of human grandeur. In 1508, not Napoleonic, Neoplatonic. That's a very different thing. Neoplatonic, my apologies. In 1508, Raffaello was invited by Pope Julius II to work in the Vatican, where he created some of his most famous works, including the School of Athens and the Sistine Madonna. Very cool. We also have Galileo Galilei. The notion that Earth and the planets would revolve around the sun is an idea Nicholas Copernicus first wrote about in his book De Revolutionibus Orbitum Coelestium in 1543, and now Galileo Galilei has promoted it again. In his book Sidereus Nuncius, Starry Messenger, his controversial championing of this has given him many enemies in the Catholic Church, and although we admit he would be a most interesting debate opponent, maybe we should be cautious and just imprison him to prevent his ideas from reaching the public. If I remember rightly, there is some controversy about this, because the popular idea of what happened here is the church real mad at Galileo, and they imprison him, they torture him, they kill him. Or I don't know if they kill him, but I think the historical fact is that they sponsored him? I think? But I'm pulling at like strands of memory that are long decayed, so I don't know if I'm right on that. So let me know in the comments what the actual history there is, because it's one of the two, and I unfortunately have issues with my memory, so I can't remember. We also have the Borgia Pope. White smoke emerges from the roof of the Sistine Chapel. Amid accusations of simony, the conclave has elected Pope Eugenius IV Borgia, Archbishop of Valencia, to the throne of St. Peter. The Borgias are a relatively recent arrival to the theatre of Roman politics and have gained the ire of more established Roman families who coveted the position for themselves. Though many of the rumours surrounding this Borgia Pope are likely to be exaggerations propagated by his enemies, he is known to openly keep a mistress and has already elevated his teenage son Cesare Borgia to the rank of cardinal. Speculation abounds that the reign of this pope will be fraught with scandal and corruption. There's also a really good TV show called The Borgias, with, I believe, Jeremy Irons playing as Eugenius Borgia. Very, very good show. Recommend it. And you know what? Probably I'm going to put Mr. Jeremy Irons on the thumbnail, so look forward to that. Or you'll have already seen that by the time it's... whatever. Yeah, the Papal States will survive. I'm sure this last one will have no repercussions whatsoever. Surely. There's also some events about some famous refurbishings. The Cappella Maggiore, the Greater Chapel, is used for masses that can be held in smaller or less public spaces than the basilicas. The years have not been gentle to the once magnificent chapel that was decorated by Fra Angelico. Its walls are leaning and it's in a ruinous state. The chapel should be demolished. The structure is not safe enough for the many masses that are held there every year. A new, more magnificent building should take its place, and the many famous artists would be honoured if they were asked to decorate the new Sistine Chapel. I wonder who is going to end up doing that. The old decrepit Cappella Maggiore is no more. In its place, the Grand Sistine Chapel now stands. The Temple of Solomon and the Sistine Chapel are the same dimensions as given in the Old Testament. The exterior is unadorned by decorative details, and the building is divided into 3 stories with a vaulted ceiling and 6 tall arched windows on the sides, 2 on either end. Although beautiful in its simplicity, the chapel's beauty could be enhanced by frescoes painted by the foremost artists of our time. So, do we have Botticelli, Venucci, Simoni, or just find someone else? Oh, I say Simoni. Michelangelo, Perugino, and Botticelli. I think that's the way that these are generally known. But of course, we're not gonna go Michelangelo. Sistine Chapel, it's got to be done. The commissioning of St. Peter's Basilica, when you choose the correct option. The old St. Peter's Basilica, built by Emperor Constantine the Great, is nowadays in a sad state of repair due to its age and the lack of maintenance it had to endure during the stay of the Pope in the city of Avignon. The time has arrived for all of Christianity to come together to rebuild the temple and transform it into a monument worth of St. Peter himself. Pope Julius II started the building of the basilica not long after being elected Pope. The completion would take more than 100 years, and one of the most famous artists in history, Michelangelo, had a large role in its completion, both as an architect and as a painter. So, either build the basilica and have Michelangelo embellish it, fund it with indulgences and hire Michelangelo to adorn it, which is the book option, and concentrate on worldly matters are your options. Then we get St. Peter's Basilica as the work of art. It's a magnum opus monument created in 1500, sculptor of Michelangelo Buonarroti Simoni. The basilica was originally built on top of the Circus of Nero by Emperor Constantine. It's been the center of Western Christianity ever since, including being the place where King Charles the Great Caroling was crowned. So, Charlemagne. I kind of wish that, look, I know Charlemagne, the name, just comes from Charles Lemagne, like the Great in French. So it's Charles Lemagne, and we changed it to Charlemagne. But if you're going with English localization here, in English, we call him Charlemagne. This just feels a bit strange to read as someone used to English localization in real life. And this is obviously a kind of maybe a little hypocritical, considering how I often profess to want localization in, exonyms are bad, endonyms are good kind of way. But still, like, if you're gonna do English localization, bro's called Charlemagne. He just is. Anyway, the new building replaces it completely, being a great expression of the beauty of the Renaissance, as befits the greatest of all churches of Christendom. There is much more, but that's all that they will show us for today. Next week, we'll have a look at the military branch of Christianity by taking a look at the military orders, at the Teutonic and Livonian orders, and the Knights Hospitalier. Fantastic. Love that. Big fan of everything we just read there. So, final thoughts on the Papal States. Despite being very much not religious at all, I've always really enjoyed playing the Papal States in EU4. And I think that's not going to change here. I think it's going to be a really fun playthrough for us trying to relocate your court from Avignon to Rome. And, there's just a lot of stuff there. Maybe there's going to be something about the Kingdom of God. That would be really cool. I quite like that. Maybe that's going to begin, maybe it's not. But it looks like there's a lot of flavor here, so I am looking forward to experiencing that. But anyway, I would like to know what you guys think. Does this tickle your fancy? Are you looking forward to being the protector and the word of God upon this earth and playing the Papal States in EU5? I know I am. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on Sunday for all of the responses, replies, and reactions of the devs to your comments in these dev diaries. Bye-bye. Oop, I didn't hit end recording. My apologies. Bye.